military conflict. India has slammed Pakistan's attempt to mischaracterize Operation Sindoor and said when a state harbors terrorists who massacre innocents, defensive action becomes a solemn duty. 6 of the group of 7 leaders discussed Russia's war in Ukraine and the Israel-Iran conflict, but have failed to reach major agreements on those and many other top issues, closing the G7 summit that was forced to try and show how the Wealthy Nations Club might still shape global policy despite Trump's early departure. A big focus, a group of 110 Indian students who were stranded in Iran and evacuated have finally come back home. They've landed in Delhi. A majority of them, 90, are from Jammu and Kashmir, and all of them were from Urmia Medical University. They're the first students group to be evacuated, transited via Armenia and Doha, and then boarded the flight to Delhi late last evening. Iran, as you know, is currently engaged in hostilities with Israel, and the families of Indian students have been desperately seeking help from the government. There have been massive protests over this issue in Kashmir, which actually sends the maximum number of students to Iran. Some students spoke to NDTV upon their return. As they landed, this is what they told my colleague Shubhang.
The students that are standing right now with me do have a sense of relief. Well, I will straight away go to them and ask about the journey that they have been through. What is your name?
My name is Ali.
Ali, I want to know throughout whatever has gone through, throughout the journey, because it was a long, tiring journey that we have seen.
Yes, it's very difficult for us. First of all, there was a lot of attacks, mostly in Tehran.
Yes.
So we would like to thank our embassy. So they helped to cross our borders land borders through Armenia, and we stayed for 1 day in Armenia, and then we come to Delhi. And there was very much attack. एक तो बस जा रही थी, हमारी बस जा रही थी साइड से, हमारी साइड में आके मिसाइल पड़ी. मेरे पास वीडियो पे झूठ नहीं, साइड में मिसाइल पड़ी. तो मतलब वो बहुत मतलब उसमें बहुत डर लगा,
घबराहट हो गई.
जी घबराहट उस समय हो गई थी.
इस समय कैसी स्थिति है ईरान में? अगर आप
हाँ आंखों देखा पता है, जितना न्यूज़ में दिखा रहे मान लो वो सच है, वो उतना ही हो रहा है, उससे ज़्यादा हो रहा है. सच में बहुत है गलत.
अच्छा लग रहा है वापस आकर?
बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है वापस.
आपका क्या नाम है?
शेख अफसा.
कहाँ से?
कश्मीर से.
कश्मीर से
जी.
यहाँ पर कुछ ऐसे जानकारी मिल रही है कि जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं वो इतना थक गए हैं कि वो नहीं चाहते हैं कि अब उन्हें बसेस में लेके जाया जाए. ये कितना सही?
जी बहुत सही है, क्योंकि हम लोग ऑलरेडी वहाँ बस से ट्रैवल करके आए हैं आर्मीनिया तक, फिर वहाँ पर भी हमें बस बॉर्डर से कैपिटल सिटी तक आना पड़ा. तो ये हमारे लिए बहुत डिफ़िकल्ट है. अभी अगर ये हम लोग को पहले बता देते तो मे बी हम लोगों ने कुछ ऑलरेडी पहले प्री प्लान किया होगा. अभी इस मोमेंट पे टिकट्स भी अवेलेबल नहीं है, वो सर बच्चे अंदर वेट कर रहे हैं, तो इट्स क्वाइट डिफ़िकल्ट फॉर अस टू रन.
पर ये कि अभी तक क्या होगा, बसेस चेंज होंगी या क्या?
अभी तो फ़िलहाल हम रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं हमारे सीएम साहब से कि वो हमारे लिए कुछ अच्छा अरेंजमेंट करें, क्योंकि बसेस की कंडीशन भी स्टेबल नहीं है. सो इट्स सॉर्ट ऑफ डिफ़िकल्ट फॉर अस.
आपका क्या नाम है?
हमारा सादिक.
हमारा. आप भी कश्मीर से?
जी.
तो आप बता सकती हैं कि जब ईरान से वापस अब आ गए हैं, कहीं ना कहीं जो पढ़ाई है वो वहाँ पर छूट रही है, चाहते हैं कि जल्दी से जंग रुके ताकि पढ़ाई पूरी हो?
ऑब्वियसली 100%.
तो चाहते हैं कि वापस जाएं?
हाँ जी.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump is keeping the world guessing about whether the United States will join Israel's bombardment of Iranian nuclear sites as the Israel-Iran conflict enters its 7th day. Speaking outside the White House, Trump declined to say if he had made any decision on whether to join Israel's campaign. In fact, to quote the US president, he said, "I may do it, I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do." Trump in later remarks said Iranian officials wanted to come to Washington for a meeting and that we may do that, but he also added it's a little late for such talks. Meanwhile, you must note that the foreign ministers of Germany, France and Britain plan to hold nuclear talks with their Iranian counterpart just this week on Friday in Geneva, aimed at persuading Iran to firmly guarantee that it will use its nuclear program solely for civilian purposes. This is what Reuters is reporting. Listen in to the US president's reaction.
will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that. And they got hit. Remember 60 days? And then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. Really, nothing's too late. What?
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said, it's very late. You know? I said, it's very late.
For an expert's view on the matter, joining us, journalist and Middle East expert, Dr. James Dorsey. Dr. Dorsey, thank you so much for your time. Is it fair to say that Trump has doubts about the certainty of success? Could this be one of the reasons he's still questioning whether to get involved and move forward with a strike?
I think the major issue here is that Trump is keeping Iran guessing. His strategy, including the 60-day deadline, always was, I'm telling you what we're going to agree on, you agree to it, and if you don't agree to it, this is what's going to happen. We're now at the point where he has to decide whether this is going to happen or not. Keep in mind that he thinks he can go in, bust a bomb, nuclear facilities, go out, and that's where the war will stop. That is unlikely to be the case. Moreover, he has a divided base.
Yes.
Between those who believe that the United States should come to Israel's aid and should destroy the Iranian nuclear facilities, and those who think this is not America's war.
In fact, Dr. Dorsey, wouldn't any American involvement drag the US into a prolonged war in the Middle East? And if that happens, what major global impact are we looking at, especially in the short term?
It will drag it into a war. Whether that's a prolonged war or not, we will have to see.
Right.
Fact of the matter is that Iran, in military or in conventional military terms, is no match for either Israel or the United States. But Iran has other options, including asymmetric warfare, including attacks on U.S. military bases in third countries,
right,
which could risk then bringing those countries in.
Indeed.
So this is a very we're at a very dangerous moment, and the U.S. president could be taking a very risky decision.
In fact, I must also inform our viewers that in recent days, as Trump has been contemplating whether to join the war, his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, he has been in touch with Mr. Arakchi, so that channel of communication is not completely shut. But Dr. Dorsey, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Meanwhile, the UN Human Rights Office has urged de-escalation and urgent diplomatic negotiations to end these attacks and find a way forward. We have a reaction lined up for you. Listen in. Right, I'm told that reaction will be coming in just a short while from now. Meanwhile, let me just bring you up to date with what's happening in the White House. A lunch date has everyone talking. US President Donald Trump hosted Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir for lunch at the White House, declaring, and I quote, "I love Pakistan," and insisting he averted a war with India despite New Delhi bluntly repudiating his claims of mediation. Trump's lunch meeting with Mr. Munir preceded a phone call he had on Tuesday night with Prime Minister Modi, in which he had invited him to stop by in Washington, D.C. on his way back from the G7 in Canada, suggesting efforts at mediation, which the US president has claimed at various times. India, as you are well aware, has swatted away the offer, the mediation efforts, saying Pakistan and India had a bilateral mechanism, which is what averted the all-out war. We have some reactions lined up for you. Listen in. Right, while we line up some crucial reactions for you, we have with us senior journalist Lalit Jha from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much, Mr. Jha, for making time for us. Can you take our viewers through why actually the US president has walked this distance and called Asim Munir for this unusual lunch date?
President Trump's invitation to Pakistan Army Chief General Munir for a luncheon at the White House is quite unprecedented, quite unusual as well. You can term it a diplomatic coup, but it reflects multiple points. One, President Trump believes that it is in national interest to bring Pakistan on board for multiple ways, for multiple reasons. One, to create the trust deficit between Pakistan and China, which China, as you know, is Pakistan's, they claim this all-weather threat. The trust deficit, they want to create that wedge. Secondly, he wants to impress upon Pakistan, ask Pakistan to stop any support to terrorists or terrorist groups, which Pakistan has been doing against India. India, as you know, has always insisted and is put the condition for any talks on Pakistan, there has to be no support to terrorism. India, as I say, the talks and terrorism cannot go together. So from President Trump's perspective, he needs peace in South Asia if he has to achieve his larger goal of taking head-on China. So that's why he wants India's development. For India's development to happen, Pakistan needs to keep quiet, have a cooperative attitude, approach with India, and not indulge in any cross-border terrorism. That's only one of the important points. Second point would be about getting some help, assistance from Pakistan in its effort or armed actions, military actions, if any, against Iran. These are a few important points, but it also is reflective of Pakistan's democracy, right?
Of course.
It is reflective of the poor state of Pakistan's democracy, where the elected leader has not been invited by the US president. Instead, he has opted to talk to army chief, which shows who the real ruler in Pakistan is, and what's the status of elected leaders of Pakistan.
But any indication on whether this occasion was used to actually buttress Pakistan's claims on Operation Sindoor, how it was wrong? Many, in fact, are highlighting that Trump hosted Pakistan's Asim Munir after he backed the Nobel Peace Prize bid. How do you decode this bizarre, unusual situation?
It's very tough to digest it. But from Pakistan's perspective, yeah, they were saved from Indian attacks, right? When India was almost on the worst, butchering Pakistan, right? Attacking Pakistan, going inside, deep into Pakistan, left, right, and center. Pakistani had no control of the airspace, right? It was, in a way, they were saved by the United States. If the war had continued for another 2 days, God knows where the state of Pakistan would have been. So for him, it's if you look from his perspective, it's pampering, buttering, and some reality fact check as well that Trump helped him save Pakistan.
Mr. Jha, really appreciate your time.
President
Thank
Trump's
you so much.
invitation to Pakistan.
Thank you so much for joining us with your views. With that, let's turn our attention now to Prime Minister Modi's touchdown in Croatia. This is being called a historic visit. It's part of Prime Minister Modi's broader diplomatic tour, including Cyprus and Canada. It underscores Croatia's growing importance in India's European strategy and also highlights the deep civilizational connections between our two nations. Croatia's significance to India extends far beyond its modest size, you must note. It's about strategic geographic positioning, political influence, cultural resonance, that makes it a vital partner in India's evolving European engagement. We have reactions from our Prime Minister and the Croatian PM. Listen in.
हम सहमत हैं कि आतंकवाद मानवता का दुश्मन है, लोकतंत्र में विश्वास रखने वाली शक्तियों का विरोधी है। हम दोनों इस बात का समर्थन करते हैं कि यूरोप हो या एशिया, समस्याओं का समाधान रणभूमि से नहीं निकलता, डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी से ही वही एकमात्र रास्ता है। किसी भी देश की क्षेत्रीय अखंडता और संप्रभुता का सम्मान आवश्यक है.
We believe that Prime Minister Modi's initiative on the economic corridor between India, Middle East and Europe is an excellent opportunity. So India, European Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, and then European ports. This is an opportunity to connect Croatia as a Mediterranean gate to Central Europe and to connect it to India, India's economy and India's market.
Well, let's switch tracks now. During a session at the India Global Forum, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal shared his optimism around the good marriage agreed between India and the United Kingdom, which he says will lead to doubling the bilateral trade between our countries in 5 years. He asserted that the India-UK free trade agreement brings stability and predictability for businesses in both our countries. Listen in.
In the next few months, we may not be able to enter into force the agreement until the UK processes are complete. But this is a time for us to build business-to-business connects. This is a time for us to have people understand the nuances and benefits that this deal can offer them, the opportunities that will open up. To the extent that whenever I'm traveling now, including the flight by which I came, the Air India plane by which I landed, I had at least a couple of people who came and met me and said they've come to check out the market and see what we could do more and what kind of business partnerships we could create with the companies in UK.
For the key details, let's go across to Rishabh Bhatnagar, who joins us live at this point. Rishabh, so we're given to understand that the formalization phase is underway after the May 6th announcement?
Correct, Parmeshwar. A few key updates from the India Global Forum, the chat that Piyush Goyal had with his UK counterpart, Jonathan Reynolds. One of the few key points was, of course, that he said that India and UK are very, very complementary economies. Both of them do not compete on very many sectors, which means that both of them have a lot of complementarities that this FTA or this free trade agreement can now leverage. He also added that he expects that the bilateral trade between the two countries will double in the next 5 years. He added that Indian companies have already pretty much invested a similar amount in the UK as UK companies have in India. A special point in this chat between the two ministers was also the Social Security Agreement, or the double contribution convention agreement. This was a very crucial part of the FTA announcement that was also made, and both of them agreed that this is something that the deal could not have gone through with.
Right.
Yep.
Rishabh, as always, thanks so much for joining us with the lowdown. In further updates related to the United Kingdom, in the biggest reform to British abortion laws in nearly 60 years, members of Parliament have voted to decriminalise some late-term abortions at a time when many of their US counterparts are actually moving in the other direction to limit the procedure. In a landslide vote, though, lawmakers in the lower house of British Parliament, the House of Commons, endorsed new legislation that bars women in England and Wales from ever being investigated, arrested, prosecuted, or imprisoned for terminating their own pregnancies, no matter what their term or trimester they're in. That vote was 379 to 137. Slipping into a quick break, back in a moment. Do stay tuned.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gauri Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
2003 is when Munna Bhai MBBS happens to you.
Right.
Dr. Asthana. And then in 2009 is when you become virus in Three Idiots. And then you make a directorial venture through Mehta Boys.
Right.
It has been quite a journey.
Yes.
But these two characters were particularly those which are seen as iconic. Would you say that they reshaped your entire, acting career?
You're absolutely right. People identify me with these two characters. I have had a learning curve through a lot of other characters too, but yes, there's no denial that these two, and if I might be allowed to put in one more, was Khosla Khurana. Because, and you're all from Delhi, right? And I was cast for that role and I was very hesitant. I went to Delhi to do some research on the character and I met a young actor over there, not young in my eyes, who said, I'm a little upset with you. I said, why? He said, I auditioned for this role. And of course, you didn't get it. So, but why are you upset with me? Tell the casting director or the director, why are you blaming me? He says, you see, you're a Parsi from Bombay. You're a Parsi from Mumbai. If I get a very important role of a Parsi in Mumbai, how would you feel? Yeah, he got a point. I said, now what are we going to do about this?
Well, the India Global Forum is set to announce the winner of the inaugural IGF Archer Amish Award for Storytellers next week. This distinguished literary prize honors contemporary Indian fiction that reflects the diversity, aspirations, and vibrant energy of modern India. Radhika Iyer joins you with the lowdown.
The might of the pen, as they call it. With me are two absolutely incredible writers, both who are known with a capital A. Sorry, it's not your first name, but your second name, which is even more popular in India. But of course, Amish is known as Amish and a dear friend of several people. Jeffrey Archer, ladies and gentlemen, and Amish Tripathi. Thank you, gentlemen, for talking to us. For the first time, a very unique award at the India Global Forum is being launched. It's called the Archer Amish Writers Award. Tell us a little bit about this, about the brainchild and what's the idea.
Well, first, young lady, because we know you're well educated, and we know you're top of your profession, you can't be very unique. You can only be unique. Got it?
Yes.
We are unique. Try your question again.
The question again is, there is an Archer Amish Writers Award. There is a bully in Mr. Archer, but we'll not talk about that. We'll talk about the writer, Mr. Archer.
Let me tell you the short stuff. Okay?
Yes.
First of all, what an honor to have my name associated with someone I've been a fan of from my school days. Second, we know, many lit fests, not just in the UK, even in India have shut down. There's been a shortage of funding. This is a $25,000 award. It's among the biggest in the world now, right? And look, many people make announcements, very few carry through. Fortunately, IGF India Global Forum, who we partnered with, Jeffrey Archer and I, are actually carrying through. The first award will be announced today. A $25,000 check will be given. This is actually one of the most valuable literary awards in the world, and
he's behind it.
No, Jeffrey Archer is the man. I am a fan. And you know the thing with Jeffrey...
You are not sure about.
I don't have that money.
The thing with Jeffrey and I agree on completely. We need to recognize storytellers, not just those with great writing. And good storyteller is someone who can force the reader to turn the page, just like Jeffrey can.
That's rare.
Right?
Not unique, but
which
rare.
Is rare. That's what we want to recognize with this award. Jeffrey,
Stop
if you want to have something, stop bragging up.
Stop! Tell us about, are you excited? Have you read the works of any of the nominees?
Yes, I've read all three.
Yes.
And it was tough.
It was tough.
It was tough. We didn't agree. We
debated.
We agreed on first and second. Oh no, we agreed on third. We couldn't agree on first and second.
And we debated for
some time.
Yeah. And then finally we came to
a mid-path.
Thank you so much for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. As always, we keep tracking the latest for you. Do stay tuned.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gauri Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
Hello and welcome. We have a very special guest with us here today on the NDTV network for an exclusive interview. It's the Second Lady of the United States, Ms. Usha Vance. Ms. Vance, NDTV की दर्शकों की तरफ से आपको नमस्कार. You know, there's a lot of curiosity about what's going on in your kitchen. Everyone is most interested because the Vice President himself has said that he was a meat and potatoes man until he met you, and then your mother taught him how to cook. So now everyone wants to know, what is it that he cooks for you?
Well, he's very experimental. He'll try anything. So he's done everything from chana masala to, has been making a specialty of desserts recently. So our children especially enjoy that.
In your home, what does a traditional Indian meal look like?
Well, my family is from Andhra Pradesh. And
they have the most amazing cuisine.
Yes, I think so, although we've been enjoying the food of other.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Good morning. You're watching The Breakfast Show on NDTV 24/7. I'm Divya Vada. We will be getting you the latest. It's been a week since the crash that claimed over 270 lives. Questions are being asked in regard to what really caused that very crash. We will be probing the matter. We will keep on asking those very questions. For now, let's just get you the headlines.
In the Air India crash, it's been a week since that Air India flight that crashed in Ahmedabad, claiming over 270 lives. DNA matching is continuing, while India continues to ask questions as to what really went down, what happened, what caused that crash. Air India, on the other side, has cut 15% of its international flights after that crash. A group of 110 Indian students who were stranded in Iran have been evacuated. They have been brought back to the national capital. A majority of them are from Jammu and Kashmir, but they have been cribbing and complaining about the buses that arrived at the Delhi airport to take them back home. US President Donald Trump has said that he hasn't really decided whether to join Israel in striking Iran. Tehran's leader has declared that he would never surrender following nearly a week of the conflict. Trump has gone on to say, I may or may not join in the conflict with Israel. In a rare gesture, is US President Donald Trump hosting Pakistan's army chief at the White House. This is weeks after India and Pakistan were locked in that military conflict, and Donald Trump there taking credit of that ceasefire yet again. A political row has erupted after AMUL was allowed to set up kiosks at 10 Bengaluru metro stations. Accusing the Congress government is the opposition party, asking why is it that Nandini, the homegrown brand, was sidelined. And global K-pop sensation Jackson Wong is in the NDTV studios. He's opening up like never before. You don't want to miss this. Let's get to your top story. It's been a week since the crash that claimed over 270 lives. And just like that, 7 days have passed, 7 days of death, debris, and DNA matching. DNA matching is continuing. It's a long and lengthy process, and it's continuing in order to establish and determine the DNA testing along with the bodies that have been recovered. 270 plus people died in the crash, 241 on board that Air India flight, including crew members. But it is also people in the hostel that lost their lives. In all, 275 people have lost their lives. Indian aviation's biggest test that is being conducted, and that big question that needs to be answered and that won't go away, that India continues to ask, is what really caused the crash. While NDTV tracks and probes and continues to ask questions, the DGCA on the other side has cleared the 787 Dreamliners and said there seems to be no issue with that fleet of the airlines. Now, faith, fortitude and forensics, that continues, and India's darkest air tragedy that claimed 275 lives. We have Aishwarya joining us to get us the very latest. Aishwarya, the big question that India continues to ask, what really happened? We do know that both components of the black box have been recovered. We do know that the DGCA so far in its initial report has given its, clearance as far as the 787 Dreamliners are concerned. Take us through, how long will it take before the DNA testing of all the victims is completed?
Well, it's been a week of Air India plane crash in Ahmedabad, and there are multiple questions that are going in the minds of the family members of the victims that died in this tragic air crash. But on the other side, yes, there have been some progress in regards to the investigations which are going on in regards to what the guidelines have been given by the DGCA or the AAIB in line with the international protocol set by the International Civil Aviation Organization, which is leading the entire investigation. The debris that is was there in Ahmedabad. Crucial equipments of the aircraft have been found, including the black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder, the data flight recorder, but many things have to be told by the investigative agencies as far as what are the preliminary findings of why this plane ultimately crashed. On one side, yes, there is investigation going on. Yesterday, the Air India had, cut down 15% of their international flights, and the reasoning perhaps given is that there are more precautionary measures, the pre-steps that they are taking, and out of 33, 26 aircraft have cleared the checks, but it is these people, the family members who are the real sufferers, and they are asking real questions as to please tell us who is accountable for this loss of the lives of at least 270, just not on the aircraft, but also those doctors who are studying and was there in their hostels, the locals who are also there. Perhaps, if we talk about the DNA sampling, then till now the data that has been released by the civil hospital authorities is that 206 DNA samples have been matched. Almost 206 families have been contacted by the authorities. More than 165 of the mortal remains have been handed over, and there are elaborate arrangements that have been made for the transportation within Gujarat or outside Gujarat, or even if any family member wants to take the mortal remains abroad, then Air India is completely assisting them. But certainly Ramesh Vishwas Kumar, one of the lone survivor, and currently I am in Diu, where yesterday he came up and he participated in the last rites of his brother, who unfortunately died in this entire incident, and we are at NDTV going to track down the family as well, and certainly what their feelings are after 1 week of how this tragic air crash went on, and what demands these families really have.
Right, Aishwarya, of course, a very trying time for the family. On one side, of course, he's a lone survivor. On the other side, he's lost his brother. So they've lost another family member in the family. It's extremely sad. And of course, perhaps he also could perhaps have some answers that people are looking for as to what really happened in those 40 seconds. What is it that he saw around him? Certain questions that really need to be answered. While India continues to ask that question, what really went down? What went wrong? What happened during that Mayday call? What was really said? A lot of questions that will be answered by the black box. And, how long would that take before we can have some information?
Well, the preliminary investigation suggests that it will at least take 3 months of time period. But yes, the answers will start coming out within a week or two is what is expected, as being stated by the DGCA and the AIB, which is leading the entire investigation in line with the protocol set by the ICAO. But it is also, these eyewitnesses who have seen from their own, eyes as to what has happened, what transpired, and how Ramesh Vishwas Kumar came out of that 11A seat which he has been seated, and just 2 seats next to him was his brother, who unfortunately died. And yes, there are these questions that will be asked from him as well, but it is the data that is continuously being recovered, the important equipments of the aircraft being sent to the forensic laboratory in Gandhinagar, and the entire flight, we have been told the structure of the flight will be recreated so that more findings can be done. Of course, the Air India, which has issued the statement, has stated that they are fully cooperating, and Boeing itself, who met the Air India chief just a few days back in